This video will make you absolutely hate Spotify more than you already do. Spotify has been accused of creating fake artists in their platform and putting them in their playlists for nearly 10 years. But there's finally several pieces of absolute proof, and I'm going to be connecting all those puzzle pieces together in this video today. There's a new book coming out in a few weeks as of this recording, which accuses Spotify of promoting fake artists in order to reduce the amount of royalties they have to pay out, which at this point is probably the least surprising thing I've heard about Spotify. If you've been paying attention to their company for a while, you would know this is far from the first time they've tried to fuck over artists and musicians. One of the ways they've done this is by demonetizing all songs that don't get 1,000 plays within a year. Another way was by using a bundling loophole with audiobooks. Now, the reason they fuck over artists is because they do not make enough money, or because the CEO potentially had his wife fucked by a musician. Spotify has not been profitable for any year up till 2024, which they're expected to actually be profitable at that point. Now, is this actually the case? We do not know yet. Streaming is essentially a loss for everybody except for the consumer. The consumer is the only one that gets a good deal out of it. The consumer only has to pay $11.99 a month and they can listen to as much music as they want. Because of streaming, record labels are making way less money than they used to make, artists and producers are making way less money than they used to make, etc. And we don't even need to account for inflation. Now, the idea of fake artists is far from a new thing. Spotify, the rumor had it, was filling its most popular playlists with stock music attributed to pseudonymous musicians, variously called ghost or fake artists, presumably in an effort to reduce its royalty payouts. Some even speculated that Spotify might be making the tracks themselves. Now, at first, to everybody, this sounded like a crazy conspiracy theory until you start looking into the background of some of these artists. They have no following, they don't respond to messages, and in fact, it turns out people have confessed to writing the music. Accusations towards Spotify about fake artists go as far back as about 2016, with this article from Music Business Worldwide mentioning that Spotify is making its own records and putting them on playlists. They state that they understand Spotify is instructing producers to create tracks, typically without vocals, which fit certain genres and themes, including jazz, chill, and peaceful piano playing. There was another mention of it in this 2017 article from The Vulture. On their Sleep playlist with 1.5 million followers, the first song at the time is by Eno Ari, a band with 3 songs on Spotify and no footprint outside of streaming services. Another band on this playlist only has 2 songs on Spotify, but both are on the Deep Focus playlist, and they have a combined 15 million streams. At the time, these were just broad accusations, but Spotify felt inclined to respond to them. Spotify has denied filling its most popular playlist with fake artists after it was accused of creating songs to bulk out its most popular ambient playlists at low cost to itself. They were accused of filling their playlist full of bands with no public profile, very few songs but millions of plays. Spotify vehemently denied creating fake artists, saying, "We do not and have never created fake artists and put them on Spotify playlists. It's categorically untrue, full stop. We pay royalties, sound, and publishing for all tracks on Spotify and for everything we playlist." As they say there, they pay royalties, which is not really a denial of accusations. They're saying they pay royalties for those songs to the people who own those songs. Basically, they're saying we don't make fake artists, we pay other people who make fake artists. We didn't do it though. We do not own rights, we're not a label, all our music is licensed from rights holders and we pay them. We don't pay ourselves, we do not own this content, we license it and pay royalties just like we do on every other track. They have chosen their wording very carefully here. You will see in a bit that they're not technically lying, but that's just due to how they have this system set up. Let's get into how this system works and the players behind it. It turns out there's actually a secret composer. It's not really a secret anymore. In 2022, a list of 830 fake artist names were exposed, and 495 of them had first-party Spotify playlisting. A man named Johan Rohr was linked to 50 composer aliases and at least 656 invented artist names. He's behind over 2,700 songs under a variety of fake artist names, many of which I cannot pronounce, but I'm gonna try. Minik Knudsen, Mingmei Huse, and you see the rest of them here. Essentially various forms of gibberish. You can't get mad at that joke, guys. They're not real names, okay? This makes Johan Rohr one of the 100 most streamed artists on Spotify of all time. Nothing weird about that. Just one guy with 600 artist names that all sound like gibberish with more streams than almost anybody on the planet. The theory here is that Spotify is most likely striking deals with these people at lower royalty rates. Therefore, they are not technically owning the songs themselves, but they are technically paying out a lot less money to them. It might not even actually be illegal, but it is highly unethical, and I think it's pretty hard to argue against that. Between 2020 and 2022, he's made approximately $7 million. I know pocket watching, but I think it's fair to pocket watch in this case. It mentions that a main key to his success is his presence on Spotify's official playlists. For those of you that don't know, Spotify chooses who is in these playlists. So they just happen to pick this guy with 650 fake artist names to shove down our throats via official Spotify playlists. It must be a huge coincidence. Johan did not want to be interviewed, but directed questions that they had towards his label that releases his music named Overtone Studios, which is owned by Epidemic Sound. Epidemic Sound was already linked to quite a few fake artists back in 2017, so it's very interesting that their name would pop up again. Overtone Studios did not answer any questions regarding this matter, but they did release a statement. They said many of these artist names are now old and inactive musical projects, and we have significantly reduced the number of artist profiles that actively publish music, even though today we work with many more creators. He also called Johan Rohr a pioneer in the mood music genre. He's definitely a pioneer of something. So we're supposed to believe that this guy has over 600 inactive past music projects, all with artist names that resemble human names. Sorta. They must have thought this information would never get out, because once you dig into it, it seems so obvious what is happening. Spotify's head of communications in the Nordics told the publication that this music exists primarily in Spotify's Focus Hub, which limits competition with artists from traditional genres and popular music. We don't stop artists or bands from releasing music under their own names or under various pseudonyms. And as the demand for this type of music increases, so do the number of rights holders and artists producing this type of content. I'm sure their music is in high demand. Not for consumers, for Spotify. So in this book, Liz Pelly reveals that the streaming platform has a secretive internal program that prioritizes cheap and generic music. And would you believe they call it perfect fit content? And this uses a network of affiliated production firms as well as low budget stock music. Never been a fan of that word, but it's what we're going to be using here. Essentially, the plan by doing this is to lower the amount of money they have to pay in royalties out to regular artists, to real artists. If they pay less money for this music or no money at all, then they're paying out less money. It's pretty simple, especially on their official playlists. It would be one thing if this music was just being uploaded to the platform, but it's being placed specifically in their official playlists, where a majority of streams are coming from. A former employee told the author that playlist editors at the streaming service began to see a new column on their dashboards soon after the program officially launched. That, along with stats like plays, likes, and skip rates, would show how well each playlist they made worked with music commissioned to fit a certain playlist/mood with improved margins. Managers began pushing their workers to try to prioritize this PFC content, perfect fit content. It's a perfect fit because we don't have to pay very much, or anything. Initially, they would give us links to stuff like, oh, it's no pressure for you to add it, but if you can, that would be great, the ex-Spotify employee told Pelly. Then it became more aggressive, like, oh, this is the style of music in your playlist. If you try it and it works, then why not? Other employees had told Pelly that they wish they'd pushed back more on this. Some of them didn't feel good about what was happening, as they shouldn't if they have some form of conscience. We didn't like that it was these two guys that normally write pop songs replacing swaths of artists across the board. It's just not fair. But it was like trying to stop a train that was already leaving. They started hiring new employees to try to get them to employ this perfect fit content. Pelly had spoken to a jazz musician who said that he was offered an upfront fee of a few $100s and was told he would not own the master rights to the track. After he realized a few of the songs were getting millions of streams, he found out he was getting ripped off. I'm selling my intellectual property for essentially peanuts, he told the writer. When you really think about it, it's insanely fucked up because artists make virtually nothing already because of the way this platform is set up, and they're finding ways to pay even less through their own generated playlists. The playlists that could help make or break an artist's career, they are filling with fake artists that they've paid a few $100s to create a song for. Now, what can be done to stop this? Honestly, I don't know. Consumers just don't give a shit. If they can listen to their favorite artist's music on here, they're gonna do it. It's nearly impossible to convince consumers to leave something because it's unethical when they're facing an abundance of convenience. Without some sort of mass organized, this is really lame by the way guys, but this is the truth and I gotta speak the fucking truth, okay? Without some sort of mass organized protest, nothing will change. And I don't even think protest is the right word because protest implies returning back to the platform, and Spotify has already shown their hand, their evil hand. After doing something like this for years and years, nearly half a decade at least, you can't really trust them. I guess the most we can do is share this book, share this video, share them with consumers especially. Like artists, that's one thing, because artists already know Spotify's bad, but I don't think consumers realize how bad it is. If you're interested in this book, I will link to it down in the description. It seems fairly interesting, but the more Spotify is criticized for this, the harder it'll be for them to ignore it. I'll see you guys next time.